This horrible crime happened in December of 1996, and our officers responded to investigate. While I was not at Boulder Police 28 years ago, I have worked in policing for more than 20 years, and I want to assure you that our agency is committed to doing everything we can to bring justice to JonBenét and hold her killer responsible. So much of how law enforcement works has changed in the last 30 years. There are a number of things that people have pointed to throughout the years that could have been done better, and we acknowledge that is true. However, it is important to emphasize that while we cannot go back to that horrible day in 1996, our goal is to find JonBenét Ramsey's killer. Our commitment to that has never wavered.
Yeah, things could have been done much better. As we sit here tonight, 28 years, a botched crime scene. You have a focus that was solely on the parents from the beginning, so much so that many people early on investigating it were pointing the finger at them, wanted them indicted. Remember the whole John Mark Carr thing, the guy they brought back from Thailand, the unknown DNA. With all of this, in this 28-year-old case, brings me to my next question in our investigation, which is, could a suspect ever be convicted? Like if they came up with a suspect and arrested someone, could they convict them in a courtroom? Joining me, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, led the high-profile defense of George Zimmerman. Mark O'Mara is back with us. Great to see you, Mark. And former federal prosecutor Neama Rahmani. It's amazing to have you two guys on here because these are two of the smartest lawyers. And I don't want to offend all the other guests I have, but these two are really, really smart. Let me ask you, I'll start with you, Mark. From your perspective, with this checkered history and everything else, could a case be proven beyond a reasonable doubt in front of a jury?
So a lawyer's answer, yes and no. Yes, only if they come up with some compelling piece of evidence that does not exist yet. We have talked about touch DNA evidence maybe being the possibility, but without something as conclusive as that, and as corroborating to other evidence, like maybe the handwriting analysis, other pieces of evidence that are out there, without some true death knell piece of new evidence, then you're right. I mean, everything that has happened in this case and happened inappropriately, inaccurately, maybe incompetently, is going to come back by some good defense attorney like me or somebody else to say there is no compelling way that you can convict somebody beyond a reasonable doubt with 28 years of not being able to do it. Not to mention the loss of evidence, the loss of forensic evidence, memories, all of that. It's not going to happen unless there's some piece of evidence that a defense attorney cannot get around.
Neama, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think a suspect could ever be convicted in this case if they make an arrest and bring somebody into court?
Vinnie, thanks for the kind words, and I agree with Mark. That's why he's so smart. Absent some really solid DNA match, and I'm talking about the blood mixture on JonBenét's underwear, not the touch or trace DNA on the paintbrush handle or the cord. It's going to be very difficult to convict someone. The handwriting analysis has been all over the place. Going to be tough. The boot, that mark is long gone. The boot is gone. So absent some admission, confession, or very solid DNA match, Vinny, we're not going to be able to get a conviction in this case because, like you said, so much time has passed and most of the forensic evidence has been contaminated or just is gone.
Mark, let me ask you what that trial would look like. I mean, John Ramsey was just on the program. He's going to be inside that courtroom. Is it going to be the defense just pointing the finger at him and Patsy and the family?
You know, first of all, it's going to be a fiasco. We know that this will gear right back up 28 years later if and when there's ever a courtroom focused on this case. But beyond that, you know, defense attorneys have to be a bit careful, right? We don't want to just say it was mom, it was dad, it was anybody else but my client. But I would focus on the investigation if I was the defense attorney. Maybe mom, maybe dad, maybe brother, I don't know. But the cops were so incompetent back then that all they're trying to do is fix their mistakes now at my client's, you know, luxury in effect. So you want to be careful blaming people. And I don't think you need to blame people as a good defense team. But I think I would focus on 28 years of why are we here now? Where was it before? Where's the new evidence? All they're really doing is trying to close a cold case that everyone's still talking about, but don't do it around my client's neck.
Neama, how do you, let me ask you this. Do you think we get to that point Where, you know, do you think there ever will be that arrest?
Vinny, it can be done. We've seen how strong these familial DNA matches are, right? BTK, Golden State Killer, or more recently, right? Brian Koberger, right? Familial DNA match. Sherry Papini. So the DNA technology has really advanced. If there is a definitive strong match, absolutely, I think we can get there. The question is, obviously, is there a relative whose DNA is in the database that matches the DNA that was found at the scene, particularly on JonBenét's clothes? I think that's really the only possible way we get there. And if we do get there and the DNA is there and there's a motive, means, opportunity, there's a chance at a conviction. But I think that's really the only chance, and it's threading the needle here.
All right. I want to thank both of you, Mark O'Mara and Neama Rahmani. And here's the thing. If there is an arrest and there is a trial, I'm booking you guys so we can analyze this case from start to finish. If Mark isn't representing someone, we'll just see how that works out. Great to see you both. Thanks so much. There's no doubt this case should have been solved. Investigators botched the crime scene. That's a problem. Investigators had tunnel vision. That's a problem. And investigators didn't get the help that they needed. It's time for the truth now, folks. And it's time for justice for JonBenét. This little girl was tortured. This little girl was murdered, and no one has been brought to justice for it. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.